Is why does the Democratic Party promote foreigners? You know, everything looks new, but my grandmama, who probably didn't even finish the third grade, had plenty wisdom. And she said, baby, there's nothing new under the sun. Grandmama was right. The Democratic Party promotes foreigners because foreigners can be used to undermine the American people and furthermore, undermine foundational Black Americans. What we have to keep in mind is after the Civil War, after Black men helped Lincoln win the Civil War, Lincoln said 4 times, without the Black soldier, we would have not have won the Civil War. Through a deal formed between Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, who had no formal education. We've seen a link here between very wise people who didn't go to school. Maybe we need to go back to that. And I'm saying that as a certified college professor. I'm getting sick of these quote unquote educated people. We should replace the word educated with brainwash, but I digress. After Lincoln emancipated Black Americans, these quote unquote uneducated FBAs, our great aunties and uncles and great grandfathers, grandmothers, had sense enough to vote Ulysses S. Grant in to replace Andrew Johnson, a Democrat, a Dixiecrat. Ulysses S. Grant was a Republican. Well, political parties were not a consideration. The reason why our ancestors voted Ulysses S. Grant in because Democrat Andrew Johnson was passing policies to destroy any progress that Black Americans made. And our ancestors did the research on Ulysses S. Grant and found out that Grant was a junkie. He was a fallout drunk, which ended up killing him in a very horrible manner. He had throat cancer. And they knew that a junkie, a drunk, could be manipulated. And I say that with all due respect. Ulysses was a brilliant general, West Point graduate. And number 2, they knew that Ulysses had a best friend who was foundational Black American, who he didn't advertise. He didn't need to advertise him. It wasn't for show. It was real. So they used Ulysses S. Grant to get Reconstruction passed. When Reconstruction was passed, Black Americans had the greatest walk in the sun we've had to this date. Home ownership, over 80%. Programs in place for us. Under Reconstruction, we had Black Wall Street. We had, we cornered the market on the trades. Well, the Democratic Party, or the Dixiecrats, started to send immigrants in here to take our place in these trades, such as blacksmithing and, carpentry and the like. According to Dr. Howard Zinn, we're talking about 1880. In 1880, there were, now to put this in context, this is about 10 years, a little over 10 years into Reconstruction. What was happening is Black people were starting to rise. We had Black Wall Street. We had Oscarville. We had, according to our brother Mark Carter, we had thousands of Oscarvilles. Well, in 1880, according to Dr. Howard Zinn, quote, there were 5.5 immigrants, 4 million in the 1890s. What did these immigrants do? Well, Dr. Howard Zinn said they created a labor surplus that kept wages down. Bam, there it is. Immigrants made corporations not have to pay a fair wage. Why? Because immigrants were running away from places like Ireland, where they were starving half to death, in Italy, which was a new country, by the way. When you hear Italians talk about Italy, remind them that there are historical Black colleges older than Italy. They don't talk about that. They kept the wages down because they were starving and in war-torn countries, and they would do anything to get away from their homeland, right? Dr. Howard Zinn says, quote, the immigrants were more controllable. Isn't that interesting? More helpless than native workers. They were culturally displaced, at odds with one another, therefore useful as strike breakers. What does that really mean? What that means is foundational Black Americans who had trades such as blacksmithing, carpentry, and many other professions were together. We were working together, and now they had to pay us, right? So they wanted to break up our unity. So they sent over Irish and they sent over the Italian. Dr. Howard Zinn also says, quote, often their children worked, intensifying the problem of an oversized labor force and joblessness. Right. So the immigrants brought their 4-year-olds over working, and that put Black Americans out of jobs. Dr. Zinn says, intensifying the problem of an oversized labor force and joblessness, in the 1880s, there were 1.1 million children under 16, that's 1 out of 6, at work in the United States. With everyone working long hours, families often became strangers to one another. A pants presser named Morris Rosenfield wrote a poem about it. Lastly, I wanted to read Dr. Howard Zinn said something interesting. He said the immigrant women became servants and prostitutes. So all this prostitution we get blamed for came from Ireland and Italy. Got it? Well, how does that relate to this space? Well, the Democrats, the Democrat or Dixiecrat to be historically correct, which became the Democratic Party, the Dixiecrats were pushing this ideology of using immigrants to replace blacks. The Republican Party wasn't. Isn't that fascinating? Don't we hear the reverse of that? Now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I want to identify that for some reason, the Democratic Party has an affinity with immigrants and using them to destroy this country. Why does the Democratic Party seemingly use immigrants to destroy the country?
Well, the notion is that the immigrant is going to be beholden to them and vote for them, but it doesn't seem to pan out that way for some reason. Most of these people either don't engage, like Asians, they have a low voter turnout, or their vote is not reliable, so they can't be relied on to vote. Hispanics often are not very humanitarian minded, so even though they've been able to run across the border and benefit from Democrat policies, they actually don't want others to be able to come across the border. So they start to get very conservative, and they begin to not want people to be able to immigrate. So it didn't quite turn out the way that they thought. Different Hispanic groups vote very far right, and others vote very, very far left. It's pretty unpredictable. And so they've been reduced to getting immigrants that are illegal and just having people that are illegal vote. And no one has ever called them out on it. They're not being called out on it as they should be.
Well, that's interesting because Elon Musk.
Hello?
Oh, I'm talking to myself. I had the mute button on. I said that's it. I'm so used to Twitter. I get them confused, TikTok. But Elon Musk said that years ago during the Kamala Harris campaign. Elon campaigned for Trump, obviously. And Elon said, so I'm paraphrasing him, but he said Kamala Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign, the Harris, whatever the guys, I forgot the next guy's name already. Their intention was to fill the swing states, particularly Ohio, with immigrants. And Elon said once that happened, once Ohio was filled full of Democratic immigrants, the country would be a one-party system ad infinitum forever. So you're right about that. They seem to want to use immigrants to have an advantage. I think because they know that people are starting to see their rhetoric as disgusting and not voting for them. So they think they're just going to reach outside the country and get people that aren't of the country and make them a deal. Hey, if you vote for me, I'll make you a citizen. How is that not treason?
It is treason, and a lot of us are not old enough to remember this, but people used to swing on a rope for doing things against the country like this. One day we'll speak about these different systems that were in government to uncover people that were treasonous to the country and really root them out. So I'm not sure how they're getting away with it. There's a high tolerance for corruption at this point. And like I said, the Hispanic vote has not panned out the way that they thought, because these people are somewhat splitting their vote or not turning out in an expected way. So these immigrants have not been they haven't really served them, because people are getting angry. Even if people are on the left and they are dedicated to Democrats, they quietly don't want all these immigrants here. And that's another factor. People are going to start flipping on them, because they're going to start to feel how good it feels to have the population back the way it was prior to all the invasions. Is it used to be kind of relegated to New York, Miami, and California, but now you've got people in almost every state complaining in some places about this invasion that our country has been suffering through.
Thank you, Wani. I want to add another layer to it, and get out your pen and paper, because I hadn't really thought to talk about this, but I thought about it as Wani was speaking. Going back to the formation of this country, I don't like the term founding fathers. It grosses me out. I forgot what scholar called them, fleeing felons, but that's more appropriate for the most part. During the formation at the first conventional what was it? The first, I forget the term, but first Congress, Constitutional Convention. That's it. First Constitutional Convention, an argument broke out about how the country should be led from Alexander Hamilton versus Thomas Jefferson. Now, I hate to say Thomas Jefferson is going to be a hero in this situation. He was a pedophile certified who had a whole side family by a child. That's, kicks him out the hero category. But his ideology on the country was more American than Alexander Hamilton. Thomas Jefferson was an anti-federalist, and Alexander Hamilton was a federalist. Well, federalism, the federalist ideology is the government should have control over every aspect of your life. Everything you do should be regulated by a government entity. I think I live in Atlanta, in a subdivision in Atlanta, downtown, and Buckhead. And Atlanta is so federalist that, if you park your car, you got to go scan a barcode and report this, report that, report this. It's very Alexander Hamilton-ish. Well, Thomas Jefferson, being an anti-federalist, said that the American people the government should serve only critical functions. It should serve, it should have a military to protect us against enemies, foreign and domestic, and it should only serve essential functions, building roads and stuff. And a man and woman, their house is their castle, and they should manage their land as the people see fit. That sounds more American to me. Well, the reason why I brought that up, because the topic says, why do Democrats promote foreigners? Well, Democrats kind of lean towards federalist doctrine, or doctrine, however you want to say it. And if you look at the first Federalist, Alexander Hamilton's ass, what was his mother? His mother was a Caribbean. So it makes sense to me that federalism and the Democratic Party would have a soft spot in their heart for immigrants, because Alexander Hamilton was a tragic mulatto with a Caribbean mammy. 7-4, you want to add something to that, Doc?
Yes, good evening. You were asking, about the promotion of foreigners and the immigrants. It's not exclusive to the Democratic Party. Ronald Reagan, the worst fucking president this country's had in my lifetime.
He was a bad one.
He inarguably in American history, he gave them amnesty, illegal immigrants amnesty. And so and also and under him we had a lot of illegal immigration, and when George H.W. Bush came around, he actually, he was the governor of Texas. He used to run a lot of Spanish language campaign ads. His brother, John Elias Bush, is married to a mestizo. He's pro-Hispanic, and because he was seeing, the Hispanic vote as like the new black vote for the Republican Party, and he was trying to do amnesty when he was president, and he got shot down. And also, the Republican Party also has prior to Trump, they had a large libertarian wing, which is their incel wing, and it was mostly funded by the Koch brothers. And when Obama became president, unfortunately, he had what they called the Tea Party movement, and that was the libertarians funded Koch brothers protests. And if you go back and you look at all the things that was being promoted by the Tea Party, they really didn't talk about. They really didn't talk about all the illegal immigration or anything. So and while they also have a anti-immigrant wing in the Republican Party, they really didn't get their time until Trump came.
Black students, we need to know our history.
The black history we're being taught in public schools is repetitive.
As a black high school student, I want to learn more about my history in the school books.
We need to update our books.
As Black American students, we deserve an accurate depiction of what Black history truly is.
I want to see myself in these textbooks.
In the public school system, Black history is vague.
Why don't the school books ever talk about the Freedmen's Bureau?
I created the workbook for the African American family. This book helps fill in the gaps that the school books don't. Purchase the workbook for the African American family on OurStoryPublications.com and use the Cash App $Our Story Publications.